watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
Well, hello, very good evening to you, and welcome to, I think this is our first kind of said this for a while, sunny night in Scotland, but it wasn't so sunny if you were a Rangers fan looking back at that 90 minutes. We'll get into it soon. Joined tonight by Andy and Alex. Get your comments coming in. We'll be here until 9 o'clock picking the bones. Well, what bones out of that game tonight? Just in case you have been living on moon, the final score was Victoria Plzeň 2, Rangers 1, 4-2 on aggregate to Rangers. And Andy, I think you would maybe say that you're happy that you're in the playoffs in the Champions League. I think you would also say, as a Rangers fan, Lyle Cameron, a good goal to get off the mark. Jack Butland basically make a few good saves tonight for Rangers. But I mean, apart from that, what else can you say about that?
Yeah, to be honest, Michael, I thought it was very disappointing, performance-wise. As you say, Jack Butland, kept us in the game tonight, as well as Pilsen's poor finishing at times. Yes, it was good for Lyle Cameron to score. Obviously, his first goal for the club and first goal in Europe as well. Great achievement for the young lad. But I'm very disappointed. I'm very frustrated. I suppose not just with tonight, but it's most of the season, more so domestically. But with the new manager coming in, he's wanting to put his own stamp on things and bring his own ideas. For professional footballers, Michael, who can't even pass the ball 2 or 3 possession for a certain amount of time, not at all times, but most times, it's very, very frustrating, as I say.
Alex, what's your thoughts on that 90 minutes?
Yeah, I would agree with most of what Andy was saying. What I will say is Viktoria Plzeň looked like a side who were 3-0 down and were trying to get back into the tie. And I think they probably should have done if it wasn't down to a bit of luck and some cracking saves from Jack Butland. Rangers seemed all over the place. They got a goal, maybe undeservedly, at a good moment for them, which kind of knocked the wind out of Plzeň a little bit. They did get back into it, have a few chances. They got that other goal. It just wasn't enough for them in the end. But yeah, Rangers, it is a series of poor performances throughout the season, and I think I can only maybe pick out one really good performance, and that was the one last week. Overall, I'd say there's been it's been poor. There's even in the Panathinaikos tie, there were warning signs. We've drawn at home we've drawn away to Motherwell. We've drawn at home to Dundee, and yeah, I didn't see. Obviously, we're through, but what you would want to see is improvement, and we didn't see it tonight, I don't think.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Andy. I know you come across when you can, and you've got a season ticket, and Alex goes to the games as well. I mean, there's got to be, the fans has got to be asking questions. Look, we're pumping money into Rangers by buying season ticket scripts and all that, and we're buying. I think it's Rangers has signed 9 players this season, or maybe 10, I'm not very sure. And then, so you're expecting better performances than that. So, supporters are entitled to ask questions, Andy.
Which we are, not just with Rangers, with any football club. The fans are the life and soul of the football club. If there's no fans, there's pretty much no club, because clubs can't survive or can't go on without the money coming in from the support. and that's shirt sales, season ticket sales, food, buying food at the grounds or whatever it might be. I just use myself as an example, and I am not saying I'm any better than any other Rangers supporter or any other football supporter. I went to the game on Saturday evening. I left my house at 9:30 on Saturday morning and got home at 2:45 a.m. on Sunday morning. Now that's my own choice, obviously, to go and watch the team I love. But yes, every team in sport or football has disappointing games and stuff like that there. But this is what you're being served up. And Alex pointed out there, we've played several games. Out with of last week in the first leg, we've been poor for most of the games we've played in. If that's pre-season, that's league games or even European games. Panathinaikos should really have put the tie to bed at Ibrox. They probably should have done in, in Athens as well. Pilsen were very poor last week. I was actually surprised how poor they were. I thought they were very good tonight. No, it was just unfortunate finishing that didn't happen for them, which we sort of found ourselves lucky on the night tonight.
Alex, I wasn't expecting to do the show tonight and come on the show and say Rangers were so poor. I said last week to Ethan when we'd done the post-match show, Rangers, the tie is over, but obviously you would want to go away from home and score that early goal and make it a bit more easier, a bit more comfortable. But it was anything but comfortable and easier tonight for Rangers.
Yeah, definitely. I mentioned earlier as well that Pilsen looked like a team with a bit between their teeth, something to prove. And they were on Rangers from the first minute. The Rangers couldn't find their composure at all on the ball. I think Andy alluded to it. It might have been before we started recording or during the recording. I'm not totally sure, but I think he used the phrase "can't string 3 or 4 passes together," and it was a lot of that. And it was frustrating to watch. We couldn't break through the lines either. Wasn't enough penetrating runs. There wasn't enough quick movement of the ball, and Pilsen were picking us off. And although I think I'm mainly happy with the way he's sort of defended this season as a whole, just like as a pure defender. One thing that has been annoying me about John Suter is this silly thing he does where he tries to drive out and he just runs into 3 or 4 guys, but he doesn't seem to have any direction or purpose to what he's actually trying to do, and he loses the ball and then we're caught short. And it is frustrating, and we've seen it. We've seen the issues about breaking through teams this season already. I think we can have all the ball, but we can't do anything with it. And then when we get caught, our defence is short because Tavernier and Jeffrey are trying to play centre mid because of their system.
And obviously you were on the show last season and we were busy saying that Rangers are performing well in Europe and performing badly in the league, embarrassing at times as well. But tonight it was really like, I wasn't going to say the opposite because it was poor on Saturday as well against, obviously I saw the highlights against Dundee on Saturday. You were there on Saturday evening. But where do you start asking questions? Obviously, you've got to start with the manager or maybe the people up the stairs.
I'm not sure what you could do in terms of the board at board level. Obviously these guys are only new in the door. I think Russell Martin has been dealt a bad and unfair deck of cards from day one, given that he was under pressure as soon as he came in the door because a lot of the support didn't want him or still don't want him. So any sort of points dropped or any defeat or bad performance, you're always going to get certain element of fans on your back. And that has been the case. And what's made it worse is obviously we have haven't played well in certain games, and a shocking start to the league season as well. The new players that we've brought in, one or two of them will have, the likes of Gasamas has probably been the only plus. Ant-Man you can't really judge because he's only played 3 games, I suppose, or 2.5 games. But in terms of the style of play, a lot of the players don't seem to be able to adjust to it. I'm not sounding trying to be to any opposition here, but out with the Celtic, probably Hearts, Hibs, and possibly Aberdeen. Most most other teams in Scotland will sit in and make it hard for Rangers to play against them. I'm not saying they're parking the bus or defending because they will play to their strengths. Rangers just seem to can't break teams down in domestic games. And the way to break any team down in world football is by moving the ball fast and giving goals and short passes. We're getting it out wide and we're putting it into the box against 6 foot plus centre halves who are it's food and drink for them all day. And again the defensive side of things for Rangers, we're playing with our centre halves on the halfway line or just inside their opposition's half, and we're getting caught out time and time again.
Alex?
Yeah, I'd really agree with most of probably all of what Andy's been saying there. It's the style is definitely not working, and also as well, you mentioned there about swinging in crosses against these big centre halves, and it's easy for them. I think that was one of my main issues when we were trying to get back into the game against Dundee. It was just cross after cross after cross, and these guys are clearly adept in there. They hit the post twice in our box. And then obviously they scored off of a set piece as well, so they know what they're doing in the air, and we don't really have any real aerial threat. Maybe bar Cyril Dessers, but even him, he's not so great in the air either. So it's when it's not working, the plan seems to go to just swing it in and do your best to see if something falls for you. And that's the irritating thing. And you need to move the ball quickly to break down these teams. That's the only way you're going to get around them, because like Andy said, swinging it in, trying to play sort of hoofball as it is, that's what these guys, that it's easy for them to just eat it up.
The worrying thing is, Alex, it's me and you saying that, and we're seeing it, and other Rangers supporters are seeing it. If the manager can't see that, moving the ball quickly and breaking defenses down and breaking teams down, if he's not seeing that, or if he is, obviously he is, and not taking action, something seriously has to be asked about the manager and also his players if they're not taking it on board.
Yeah, it does. It would, if it keeps going on like this, it would point to a wider issue. I'd say I don't want to. Obviously, it's been a really poor start to the season, but I don't want to jump straight to straight to this is a disaster quite yet, because I think as a support in the past as a whole, we've been guilty of maybe jumping on someone's back too quickly. However, I don't think he'll get much more leeway. I mean, if it's not even if Rangers beat Alloa on Saturday, but it's a struggle, people will still be asking the questions. Though it's a really tough job that he's come into, and it's a rebuild that he's come into. But you still, even if that's the case, he still should have been beating Motherwell. He still should have been beating Dundee, and we've not really seen any progress despite. Leading into the season, he was saying, the players have been really good. They've been doing everything we've asked them to. We're really pleased. And we've come into the season and it's not been a great watch.
I mean, basically, what
yeah,
you were
you're
saying,
right, and for the fact.
On
Sorry,
you go,
Michael, go
Andy.
ahead.
No, on you go.
No, it's just obviously the manager has made certain comments, about how well I've been training and stuff like that there. we were very poor on Saturday evening against Dundee. Obviously, we lost a goal. We lost a man through a red card. For any manager, especially a manager of a top club in their own country, to come out and say, "Well, I know it sounds negative, but at least we didn't get beat." You do not say that at the club that he's at the minute. You know, that's not. You're not at no disrespect in the English Championship now or whatever. You're at Rangers, and you should know. You know the way things are going, and things badly need to improve. Yes, there will be time to improve and stuff like that there, but you cannot come out and make those comments because you're just making things worse for yourself. I would have been interesting to see what he said this evening because tonight was worse than Saturday.
Yeah. Also, as well, on that comment that you mentioned there, that reminds me of a more recent Rangers manager, Philippe Clement, talking about, "Oh, we had 28 shots and stuff like that." But you get beat, mate. And then coming out after a scrape and a draw against Dundee and going, "At least we didn't get beat." That's really similar vibes to Clement there.
I mean, I basically said to you, I think you were on the show last week, Alex, as well, that when Philip Clement was coming out with statements like that, 25 shots at goal and all that, you and Andy as supporters, you don't care how many shots at goal you have. You care about the final score. Have we won the game? Have we dropped points or we get beat? You don't care if you think you had like 45 shots at goal at the first half, because you're paying money to go along and watch a team winning week in, week out. And to be honest, that statement that Russell Martin made, as supporters, you must be sick of manager saying that. And by the way, it's not just Rangers, it's like Aberdeen, Celtic, Hearts, and all the rest of it. Yes, we've had a good week in training. You and Andy don't give a damn how much they've scored goals in training. You just care about putting the ball in the net on the Saturday or Sunday or whenever you play. You don't really care about how many shots you've had on target as well. Because, I mean, I'll go back to it. I mean, you and Andy's paying brilliant money to go, especially Andy. That's like a day and a half. Leaving Northern Ireland to go over and then, not getting back late until Saturday evening.
Yeah. And I think it's all well and good hearing those things, they're doing well in training and maybe making comments about statistics, as long as that the most important statistic is there. I don't mind all the extra stuff, but see when it's like when it's stuff like that about when the results aren't going your way, and it just reeks of excuses and sort of looking for a kind of a way out, and especially with this support, you won't you won't get out of your jam that way. They'll hound you even more for comments like that.
Andy, obviously you've not been on the show for ages, and you're a loyal Rangers fan and all the rest of it. But what was your take on when Russell Martin get the job? Obviously, like you've got to support him now because he's your manager. But I would hazard a guess and say that he wasn't your first choice.
Absolutely right, Michael. He would not have been my first choice, but he's the man in charge. Regardless of who's in charge, you have to get behind him, support the manager, and support the team. Um, I know Rangers fans are hard to please, as it's the same on the other side of the city. No matter if it's who you're playing against, you should be winning, or at least trying your best to win in the majority of games. But as I say, I think Russell Martin gets a bad deal because of how he was as a player at his time during his time at Rangers. But yes, he wasn't playing in a good Rangers team. There was a lot of players there around him that weren't good enough either, and during that era. But that's obviously past. He can't react on that now. He's here as a manager of the football club. The fans do need to support him and get behind him. Um, the board also as well, and they obviously have given them money to spend. As key as it is, I still think we need at least 4 first-team starters. We also need players moved on as well, and that shouldn't be loan deals. It should be trying to recoup some money that we've, in my opinion, wasted on quite a few players throughout the past 3, 4, 5 years.
Alex, is that a mentality thing at Rangers about, oh, I'm just going to turn up and, I basically can do what I want as well. Maybe that's a bit unfair for me to say that, but Andy picked up a point early on about when Martin came in. Let's not forget, guys, that this team's been struggling for a wee while now. It's not okay when I say Rangers brought in about 9 or 10 players. You would think would knit or gel together better. But let's remember that this problem has been going on when Clement was a manager as well. So this is not a new issue.
No, it's not, and it is frustrating that it's happening. It seems to be happening again with the sort of new regime. Maybe it's a case of still trying to get out of bad habits. What's the saying? Is it old habits die hard or bad habits die? I don't know what the exact saying is, but maybe that's the case for the players. They're trying to get out of the funk that they were in. Although that doesn't excuse some of the new players that haven't really impressed me and the supporters as a whole. So I don't know what's going on there. It's difficult to speak to the psychology of a player or the psychology of a squad when you're not in and around them. But there definitely is there has to be something there because it keeps happening.
Andy, I'm going to ask you a difficult question. You might not know the answer, but can you basically put your finger on it? Because I mean, this was a team that went to the Europa Cup final about 2 or 3 seasons ago, and football's it's a beautiful game sometimes, but it's a funny game as well, Andy.
Yeah, Michael, it's hard to put your finger on it. You pointed out Europa League final, the team getting there, and I think there's only one player that played in that final that remains at the club, and it's the club captain, James Tavernier. Obviously the new manager's come in. He spoke yesterday about. He was asked a question about different things happening in the past for certain players and having a good season last season or not doing too well last season in terms of in certain individuals. He basically said that was last season. No matter how good or bad you played, it was in the past. It's the here and now, and I totally agree with that. But also, he came in the door and basically put together a leadership group, which it can happen in different teams or clubs or workplaces or whatever. You probably put the people in charge or so-called in charge and the sort of leadership group of the guys who are there the longest or have been there a few years. So the leadership group is built around the captain James Tavernier, Jack Butland, John Suter, and Kieran Doyle. So that's 4 players who have been there a few years. Now, obviously, all the players haven't won too much in the recent years. So if you're putting together a leadership group, you're wanting those players to show leadership first and foremost, yes, to show the standards of the club and know what the club's about and teach that or make sure others who have came in the door or younger players or whatever, make sure that they understand and they're aware. Because when you come into Rangers, it's new signings most likely say, "Oh, Rangers are a massive club. The history of the club, the success they've had in previous years, or throughout their history, and the old firm games, the atmosphere, the European games. You know, right? Okay, but that's up to you to go out and give 100% every time you step in that pitch, home or away. I don't think that's happened enough in the last few years, and I'm not pointing fingers at certain individuals. You're asking about a mentality thing. It could well be, but if you go out in the pitch on any game, as long as you can strive to be better than the guy in front of you up against you, that's all you can do. Give your best, and I get sometimes your best isn't good enough with certain elements of football clubs, but there is something wrong within the club, and if, I don't like to sort of compare, but if you look across the other side of the city and look at Celtic, if you were to imagine their leadership group, the main man is obviously Cal McGregor, who's been there and inherited the captaincy through after Scott Brown. He knows what the club's about. I know he didn't grow up a so-called Celtic fan, but he's bought into what the club's about. He knows what the support are asking for, and he makes sure that every other player in that team or squad knows what Celtic's about. Tavernier needs to do the same with Rangers, but also other players as well. You don't need to wear a captain's armband to show leadership. Everybody can talk or shout on a football pitch or any environment. Show a bit of attitude, desire, and give the quality that you're more than capable of. Sorry for the rant.
No. Yeah, you make a few good points there. I'm going to come back on one or two in a minute as well about this kind of like Rangers man, or is a Hearts man, so you know what Hearts is all about. I think that, I don't know about you, Alex. I think that points. Yeah, I know what you're getting at, Andy, but I don't really buy it, because you're actually getting paid big wages. So, like, it doesn't really matter if you're like a Rangers man, a Celtic man, or even a Patrick Fisherman for that aspect. You're paid to do a good job. And listen, I mean, we know that there's been guys coming into Celtic and Rangers and other clubs. It's been a big support of that club, but it's been a rubbish manager, Alex.
Yeah, no, I think Andy's kind of main point there though was, you need to, especially within the leadership group with these players coming in, you need to sort of put across the point to them about what it is about. Obviously, we've seen players coming in and managers coming in who are so-called, Rangers men who knew what it was about and have failed. But I think Andy's sort of overarching point there was, if this leadership group is a thing, they need to take on the responsibility of, sort of instilling the correct mentality. If mentality is a question, they need to, they need to make sure that they're not just coming for. Obviously, we've mentioned the attraction of Rangers, the attraction of playing in the big games, the Old Firm, the European nights. You can come for that. You need to also come for the Motherwell away, the Dundee at home, playing Alloa on Saturday. You need to have that mentality every single week. This is a must win. Give 110%. Give your best, like Andy said.
Andy?
Well, Michael, you take, for instance, the next fixture we'll have, which Alex has just pointed out, as a League Cup tie against Alloa. These guys are like ourselves, working on Monday to Friday, going to training twice or three times in the evening after doing a day's work, and they're raring to go on Saturday. Rangers at Ibrox, what a chance we'll have to go and cause an upset. It's been proven last season at Queen's Park. And they'll not expect to win, but they'll go and give absolutely everything. And again, that is all you can ask for from any football player. But when you're seeing players on the park that aren't doing it enough or not being consistent enough, you're cheating the fans, and it's happened far too long at Rangers, and it happens at quite a lot of teams. Yes, I know that, but I can only speak from my own personal experience of supporting Rangers and watching the club.
Yeah. I mean, basically, Alex, a lot of teams Celtic fans might say Parkhead's are forkless, and teams who keep coming in European nights and League Cup business and all the rest of it. And I'm sure you and Andy has been saying that for years. But now, have you got this doubt in your back of mind that teams doesn't fear coming to Ibrox now?
I don't know. Because for a long time last season, Ibrox was, where Rangers performed. It was the away form that was an issue. And then towards the end of the season, they dropped off. They obviously lost to Queen's Park. I think they lost to Hibs at Ibrox as well. So there was a couple of, not so great days last season. And this season, we've started off, we've won both our European games at Ibrox, but we've drawn to Dundee at home. A team, by the way, which was widely considered clear favourites for relegation, and their manager's already become a meme, for a lot of people. And now, they've got a one each draw. So maybe teams that aren't fearing coming to Ibrox anymore, and that would be concerning. But I think that the main issue would be the players need to take that on and go, we need to make them fear coming to Ibrox. Or, all great teams, all great teams, they fear playing them home and away. I think that's where you want to be. No matter where you are, you want to be afraid to play them. Because I've got a few mates over the past few years. A Kelly fan in particular, and it was during one of the Ange Postecoglou seasons, and he was actually afraid coming up against that Celtic, those Celtic teams, anywhere, and with Rangers go to Rugby Park or Easter Road or Pittodrie, they're going, we fancy this, and now it could be a case of we can go to Ibrox and get something now as well. So, obviously the results need to come and they need to turn it around.
And if people's just tuning into the show, well, where have you been for the past 35 minutes? But if people's just tuning into the show, they would think Rangers got beat tonight.
Oh, we did get beat on the night, yes. But honestly, the performance tonight was absolutely atrocious, in my opinion. We did speak about it earlier, and we'll point it out again. The only player with really pass marks you could give for tonight's game would be Jack Butland. If it wasn't for Butland, who has been rightfully criticised at times in recent seasons for mistakes, I think he's probably been our best player this season. And that says a lot when your goalkeeper's your best player. He made some very good saves tonight. One, I think, in my opinion, world-class save towards the end that sort of went over the bar. But again, it's so frustrating. Yes, we're through, and it's good to be through into the next round, obviously the playoff round. But it's so frustrating when a professional football team who trains well, supposedly according to the manager, can't play wee short 5-yard passes, can't keep the ball for 3, 4, 5 passes most of the game. And I know it's not every attack or whatever or phase of play, you're not always going to keep the ball. No team can do that, we know that. But when you can't do the simple things, or what's needed when you do need to break teams down and pass the ball quick, move the ball quick from side to side, or we giving goals and triangles and all the rest of it, football's a simple game. And unfortunately tonight, Rangers looked as if it was their first time they've seen a football. And that's how poor I think the team was tonight.
I think as well they passed up on a lot of good opportunities on the break. Made me question the decision making as a whole, because I could think of maybe 2 or 3 chances on the break that maybe Diego Gassama took one or too many touches, or Oliver Antman picked the wrong pass where Rangers could have been in, or Oliver Antman in particular looking for a pass when he should just have a crack at goal. You know what I mean? A lot of poor decision making in the forward areas as well when we did have chances, which is also a concern.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Alex. And the first one that would stick out in my mind was early doors in the game. It was like a diagonal ball or a cross in the Dessers, and all he needs to do is hit it with his left foot, just put the shot on target, and he passes it back.
Yeah, to the imaginary man running in.
Yeah, we weren't clinical enough in and around the box, and we haven't been. We know that all season, but especially tonight.
Yeah, and also I think an issue that you raised earlier about when Jack Butland's your best player, we've faced a lot of shots across all the games this season. I think we faced 17 against Motherwell. I was just looking at the statistics earlier. Viktoria Plzeň had 27 shots tonight. Which even for a range, even in Europe, unless you're playing like Bayern Munich or Liverpool or whoever, that is concerning.
Excuse me, sorry. It is concerning, but I think why we're facing that many shots is the style of play and the way the manager's setting out to play. So, yeah, you could question that, but again, if that's the way he's setting his players out to play, the players need to adapt to that quickly. And if you have the ball and keep the ball, no player's going to be able to have a shot at your goal because you've got the ball. So it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Andy, I'm just looking at, I don't know if you saw this, but Rangers are now playing Club Braga in the playoff round for the Champions League.
Rouge, is it Club Rouge?
Yeah, Club Brugge.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So we've obviously recently played them at the start of July on a pre-season friendly. Yes, friendly games you can't really read too much into, but I will say it'll be a very tough game, or two legs, should I say. I know the first leg, I think, pretty sure is at home next week, so we will really need the upper game. And yes, obviously we'll have Alloa on Saturday first and foremost, but in terms of the European game, we need to play a lot better and show a lot more quality throughout all of the pitch.
I think as well that just kind of like look back at the game briefly tonight. Obviously Rangers got beat, but yeah, obviously they go through, but it's hard to because Rangers were so poor tonight. But the first goal, Jeffy was poor for that goal, Alex, and I'm just seeing online that I don't know if you guys have seen it. I don't know the team from Brazil, but they're looking at Jeffy.
Yeah, I saw that. It's
Palmeiras, I think.
yeah, it's Palmeiras. Yeah, I think it was reportedly around £5 million was the initial offer. I don't know. Jeffrey's a funny one for me because I think in moments you can see there's a player there. It's just I can't for the life. I think that for that goal he was quite poor. He obviously slips, but also one of my main problems with him, and he nearly got done for it again tonight, is his defensive awareness. I can't count how many times a player's run off his blind side and got in. Happened tonight, and Jack Butland pulled off a save. Cross came in from the left hand side, Pilsen's left hand side, Rangers' right hand side. Goes past John Souttar. Jeffy's waiting for it to come to him. Doesn't notice the Pilsen guy running in, gets a diving header, Jack Butland saves it. And, it's one of my main issues with him. I think he can be quite good going forward. I think his delivery's improving. He's still only 21 as well. So I think he should be given a little bit of time. But I think another left back would be good to bring in the window, because it looks like Ridvan Yilmaz is on his way out the door, just to give maybe Jeffy a bit of support. We've clearly seen Max Aarons can he play there. Jeff, in terms of the offer, I'm not sure I'd want to sell him just yet, because I feel like there's a player there, but he definitely does have elements of his game that need fixing.
Andy?
Alex makes a few good points. I do agree with certain things, and I don't agree with certain things. First and foremost, what I do agree on is Jefte's awareness is absolutely shocking. I know he slips for the first goal, but if you watch it back, when Pilsen have the free kick, no Rangers players looking at the ball, which is the basic thing you do first and foremost. But Yefte is so far away from his man, and if he's closer to his man, he may well still slip, yes. But the guy doesn't get in front of him as easy. So that's the first mistake he's made. I think he's quite possible at fault for the second goal as well, along with Jigga and possibly Rothwell. The three of them are caught ball watching. But Yefty's awareness as a defender is absolutely shocking. Who does he play ahead of? Red Van Yilmaz, yes, who is very poor as well and has been injury prone, as we know. Aarons has obviously recently come in. He's not a left back, as we've seen, and that's why he is a right back. But I know Yefte's young. Well, you can say he's young. He's 21. I suppose in football terms, it's not young anymore. But the previous left back we had before was Borna Barisic, who was always caught sleeping at times. It's all right going forward and getting a delivery in the odd time or a forward pass. But as a defender, and I'm saying this about most modern day fullbacks, it's all about being fast and getting back in the position. You have to be good at defending first and foremost, and that goes to the other side of the pitch with James Taverner as well. I know he's been suspect in defensive um, areas at times as well throughout his Rangers career. It doesn't matter how many assists or goals you get or score. Your duty, first and foremost, is defend. And tonight, that he cost us once again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me. Now, I think in recent days we've been linked with the Real Betis defender Nobel Mendy. I think he plays left back, so he could well be coming in the next few days. But we are in need of a left back, in my opinion. Also, a left-sided centre half, another midfielder, and well, before tonight, I think we needed a striker. But Dessers went off injured tonight, which didn't look too good with his ankle or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
So we quite well need a striker or two.
Sorry, Andy, I'm just saying that landing didn't look pretty. Just on Nobel Mendy, I think he's actually a left-sided centre half who can play left back as well. So
right, okay. You're saying about Dessers that didn't look good. The landing, he was made to walk around the whole pitch to the bench with a sore foot or ankle or whatever it may be. Whose decision that was, I don't know.
Well, they drove the stretcher over and everything, and then they had him walking around. So I don't know what went on there.
No.
Don't forget that you're watching the Scottish Football Zone. We'll be back on the first night for the Dundee United and Hibs games in Europe, and also you can subscribe to the Football Zone YouTube channel. The details is at the top. Fun enough, it's called the Scottish Football Zone. Who knew that? And you can join us. You can give us a follow on Twitter. Well, I call it Twitter. I'm a bit of an old school boy, but it's now X, I believe, as well. But Andy, I'm not allowed to say X in my house because my missus gets a bit upset.
Well, maybe so, but X certainly marks the spot for the Scottish Football Zone, Michael.
Yeah,
you heard it here first.
Yeah, that's why we've signed you up in a 5-year deal, Andy. Because we couldn't afford you for a 6 year, so we'll just keep you for 5 years, and we'll maybe sell you on after that. No, I'm on the kick. So yeah,
maybe get a coaching role after that.
So the attention turns to Arrow on Saturday night, Alex, before the back to the European game. Is it next Tuesday night? I've not saw the days yet for the games.
It'll be next Tuesday or I believe Tuesday or Wednesday. So because, and obviously Rangers elected to withdraw their application to postpone the St Mirren game. So I think maybe Tuesday would be better to give them a bit more time to prepare for that. But anyway, yeah, Alloa next, and if me and my dad were watching the game, and Tom Miller was in commentary, and he said something about Alloa, and he was saying the next, it'll give him a chance to maybe play some of the fringe players. And my dad went, no, play the strongest team and just get them out the road. We need to win, because we're not in any position to be kind of, tinkering with the team and giving maybe players that, because if this is the strongest team in the manager's eyes, imagine what the ones behind them would perform like as well. Maybe a bit of freshness might be good, but I just feel like Rangers need to put out a sort of senior 11 and just get it over the line.
I tend to agree with your dad, Alex, as well, because Andy, if Rangers started the season, if they beat Motherwell comfortably, in Dundee, in the Panathinaikos game, what they did, but they weren't in top form that day. You could maybe say, brought in a few young players to the team, because you're at home, you're expecting a professional job, but you're expecting a strong 11 away from home. But I mean, you're at home, maybe not in front of 50,000 fans, but a big attendance might be expected on Saturday evening. But because you make that, you make a good win, but you make a good performance as well.
Yeah, I think obviously first and foremost the win's most important, but you are looking towards a good performance, especially after tonight's lack of performance. In terms of the team selection, I agree. You always play your strongest team as possible. But Russell Martin was asked yesterday about Mikey Moore and also Hamza Igaman, whether they are eligible to play or fit to play. He did point out that they wouldn't be available for this evening's game, but it was looking more like Saturday. So with Dessers going off injured tonight, I would imagine Danilo would probably start, or Igaman would get the first 50, 60 minutes just to get his match sharpness up. Mikey Moore has obviously been cleared to play, just recently turned 18 yesterday, so whatever the whole was with the clearance and stuff like that due to being under 18, probably he's now able to play. You sure at some point during the game. Could well get him about, but I would still say it would be strong enough for the Monday. Again, as I say, you have to go with your strongest 11 possible and go and win the game, because you don't want me going into
Yeah, I think we're having some technical issues with Andy's Wi-Fi, Alex, but I think we got the gist of what Andy was saying there about putting up a professional job on Saturday and play your strongest 11. I think the supporters would fancy a couple of youngsters that Rangers got off to a good start in the league and all the rest of it, but they can't afford any slip-ups, because we all know what happened last season in Queen's Park, and everybody in their granny maybe thought Rangers were going to run over the top of them, and well, we know what happened at the end of the game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Alloa, they've been pretty good this season. I think they've won
2 out of 2. Yeah.
And they won all their games in the Premier Sports Cup, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So, obviously they beat Dundee, which Rangers couldn't do. So that maybe that's alluding to something. So yeah, definitely, I think go out with a strong team and make sure you get the win, because I'd rather put out your best players and thump them than risk resting them for a Champions League game and going out to Alloa in the first sort of knockout stages of the competition.
Maybe he could afford to put the youngsters on the bench, Alex.
Yeah.
And then if Rangers were, 4-0 up, 5-0 up, bring them on with, 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, definitely. If it's comfortable, if Rangers are a few goals ahead, give them the chance, because we all like to see young players getting opportunities. Sort of one of us in a sense, especially from like a academy, the academy and stuff like that. Most of them grew up supporting the club, and as supporters we can identify with them. So it's nice to see. But at the end of the day, we want the win, and if if they get thrown into the firing line and they're part of a team that is struggling or even losing against Alloa, it can be tough for them as well.
Andy, are you coming over for the game on Saturday?
Unfortunately, I'll not make it over this weekend for the game. So it'll be the TV for myself, and I can only hope that we put in a good performance, but most importantly, we get a win.
Yep. So I mean, because Alex, you were on the show on Friday, and we were having maybe not laughing a joke now because it's serious, but I think you went for 7-0 Rangers and against Dundee, obviously. And
I went for 6. It was Robbie that went for 7. So it's a little less embarrassing. But
I went for the more tame score, Alex. 3-0. But there you go. But what do we know?
yeah, we were all wrong. I don't think I did too well as a whole in my predictions over the weekend. I think it was pretty poor from me. But yeah, definitely way off on that one. I think I was talking to Ethan about this on our kind of podcast, and Laurie as well. He's on our podcast also, and whether it's a combination of Dundee are better than we thought and Rangers are way worse than they thought, or just Rangers are way worse, or just Dundee are way better. I think it's more of a combination. I think Dundee showed something that they didn't show against Hibs the last week, and Rangers were extremely poor.
Yeah, no, that must be a concern, Andy. Like teams coming to Ibrox as well, having no fear, but also, Dundee going by the highlights, they could have been 3-0 up at half time.
Yeah, Dundee hit the post. A couple of other half chances as well in the first half, and then obviously they broke through and got the goal. They were unfortunate not to score one or two more. Possibly, you could possibly say the penalty Rangers got was a bit soft, but you've seen penalties given for less, especially in Scottish football for different decisions and stuff like that. But Rangers were very poor last weekend, as they were tonight. And you can only hope that something seriously changes in terms of the performance and the desire or the lack of desire, should I say, from the team.
Alex, coming to the end of the show now, I suppose that we started the show by highlighting Rangers' two best, well, best player, you would say one of them was Jack Butland, and the other one would be Lyle Cameron. Just to break his duck European game away from home.
Yeah. It was kind of I'd say, an instinctive finish from him. I think he just kind of put his body in the way and see if it would go in. I think it hit off his thigh in the end. Camera work wasn't great, so it was kind of difficult to tell. But yeah, it was a nice moment for him. I think he's one. He wasn't great at the weekend, but I think in the games and the times that we've seen him, I think he's one that has maybe been okay. I don't know if I've got a soft spot for him because he's a young Scottish player, but I think he's been all right. He was okay tonight as well. We've been talking about doing your best and giving 110%. We can't say that Lyle Cameron hasn't done that. I don't think. He's always buzzing about all over the pitch, trying his best. So it was a nice moment for him tonight.
There you go, nice moment for him tonight. Not so much Rangers, but they got the job done and they're through to the playoffs in the Champions League, and we'll be back next week as well. Thanks to Andy. Thanks to Alex as well for joining us on the show. Don't forget you can subscribe to the Scottish Football Zone, and you can follow us on I will say Twitter now. Not my ex, but I've been using that joke for about 5 years now. It's not actually funny, but Alex is new to the show, so I'm sure I'll get away with it, but not on Friday night if I use it. So we'll be back on Thursday for more European action. Dundee United and Hibs are in action on Thursday night, and also we'll be back on Friday to look forward to. Fun enough. Round 2, I feel weird saying that, guys. Round 2 of the Premier Sports Cup, and Celtic and Rangers are, and all the other teams involved in European football. So we'll see you on Thursday night here on the Scottish Football Zone.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.